Hi everybody, I hope you are doing great. My name is Ahmed, as you know me. I'm just a student like you all are. So, this is going to be my first video, and you know what? I'll tell you a little bit of story. So, uh, I was literally planning my first video like for months and weeks, okay? But the thing is, it didn't happen that way. So I literally I was like fantasizing about things. Okay, like I would take this story and make this thing, and I would speak in a way like this, and it would become something very interesting. But the thing is, you sit and think. Okay, doesn't makes anything happen. Okay, only actions can change things. Okay, so I would like you to question yourself. If you are in a situation where you are confused about anything in life, in your college, or anything which is important to you, you should question yourself. Okay, either if I keep thinking about this thing is gonna change that, or if I'm gonna do something about it, take an action, or change something in myself, would change the situation. Okay, so what I actually came and decided to do is, I thought for a very long time that I would make this great video, but you know, it is very important to start. This is such an underrated thing. People would literally sit and think for a decade and they would do nothing. They had this great idea, they would launch this, they would do this in a way like this, but in reality, they have done nothing. Okay? Why? Just because they're afraid of taking action. So I decided that I would go and just make a video. That's it. I would choose a topic and make a video on it. So that is what I'm trying to do today. So let's see how this thing goes. So I wanted to talk about motivation. Okay, motivation. Motivation. There's an entire industry, millions of dollars built on just motivation. Okay, I'll tell you a simple fact. In fact, I will share you a simple story. We will go back in time and we would visit the Abbasid dynasty. Okay, so motivation is the starting point of greatness that you need to feel before you act. Okay, but the history tells a very different story. Okay, so in 13th century, what happened was Baghdad was considered to be a greatest center of knowledge in the world. Okay, that you would have ever seen of that era. It was the heart of the Abbasid dynasty, if you know. Okay, and this included many things like the House of Wisdom, and where this place was where the scholars, okay, scholars, I don't mean by scholars like simply scholars. These scholars have preserved and expanded understanding of medicine, mathematics, and astronomy, philosophy, and science. Okay, I think you need to go and read these things about the history, the actual history, which is very important. So, this knowledge was literally built on, more than 600, 800 years of efforts. Okay, and this knowledge has been slowly passed down over centuries through careful studying and preserving the knowledge, and teaching, translating, and doing all the things together as a team. Okay, but there was a time when uh, barbarians, also known as Mongols, okay, they were approaching to the city of Baghdad, and these barbarians people, uh, they were like have they were like brutal people. Okay, they didn't have a single ounce of empathy towards any human being. Okay, leave alone the human being. They would have 0.1% empathy towards plants, trees, and animals, and any other living thing that existed in that particular place. So what happened was, these barbarians people were known for the wherever they went, they massacred the population, and the cultures, the tradition, the people, everything was just wiped out. Okay, not a single human life would be found after they conquered the city. Okay, the people in the city of Baghdad understood this, and they knew that they would reach Baghdad at any point of time. Okay, so this was not an illusion then. And what happened was, they feared this thing. They were not excited. They were not inspired. But for the scholars in Baghdad, this movement offered no hope and no reward. Obviously, because the things that these barbarians people have done from a very long time, they have just destroyed whatever they found. Okay, so what these scholars did was very interesting. At that point of time, the city of Baghdad was considered as the biggest knowledge power, or what you can call the knowledge hub in modern day language of that era. Every kind of knowledge that existed in the world also existed in the city of Baghdad. Okay, so at this place, the House of Wisdom, there were literally manuscript and letters, articles, books, and all the other things that were written precisely by very different people which were best in their field. Okay, so when the fear entered these people, okay, they knew that whenever these barbarians are gonna come to the city, they would destroy everything. So what they did was, they hid the books, the articles, manuscripts, whatever the important things were, and they buried the books. They hid. Some scholars memorized the entire thing, understanding the knowledge that has been explained, but the point is, these acts were not because of emotion or inspiration. They were not dramatic acts driven by emotion or inspiration, okay? These were the disciplined responses to the reality of life, okay? The scholars did not act because they felt powerful or hopeful, okay? But because they knew preserving knowledge was their identity. This was the main thing, okay? In the year 1258, Mongols, known as barbarians, invaded Baghdad, and destruction was so devastating, and it was as they feared happened. Okay, libraries were completely burned out, and there was ashes everywhere. Ashes. Countless books were also thrown in the Tigris River. As many books as some historians describe the situation where the amounts of books that were dumped in this river led to the change of color of the river. The river changed its color to the ink's color. That amount of books were dumped into the river. The knowledge that was accumulated for centuries was completely lost in a matter of days. Okay? But not completely. Some of the texts survived because these texts were already copied and some of them were hidden. Some of texts were memorized, and also they did something very interesting was they sent these books or whatever the text manuscripts that were important to the travelers so that they can carry all these things beyond the city. Why? Because the attack was inevitable. And what they knew was one thing, that it was their duty to save their identity. The systems were built long before the crisis arrived. Okay, the scholars of Baghdad, they didn't wait for anything. Okay, they didn't wanted to feel ready or inspired. Okay, they acted because they believed that something that mattered more than comfort, emotion, or even survival. The knowledge that we inherit and the progress we benefit from were not created by the people who felt motivated. It was created by the people who acted, who took action. Anyways, doesn't matter whatever circumstances they, these people existed in. Okay? And so the point I was trying to explain was motivation does not exist. Okay? It is not real. All of these things that are surrounded by motivation are just a kind of hype. Okay? Motivation does not exist. Okay? There are things that you need to take beyond motivation. Okay? I hope you understand and you get something valuable out of this video. And thanks for watching.